Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So I allow this to completely dry and I'm gonna bring it up a little bit closer so you can just see the luscious paint quality. And keep in mind that I don't have a lot of layers on here. There may be, I want to say about 2 or 3 at the most, but just look at the lusciousness of this. And this is in its very beginning stages. So what I've discovered is that when I start my spread, when I'm doing these portraits, when I started with just this bold splash of color, it really sets the mood for the entire piece. And what I did is I just took a very watered down loaded brush full of my cashew chalk paint and water, and I just kind of smushed it all over here, and then I allowed it to completely dry. And I was asked very specifically like what I did to create these backgrounds over here where you can see the writing but it's all like smushed, and somebody thought that I had used a watercolor pencil, I believe, but I didn't. So this is exactly what I did to create this background. It's the same process. So basically what I'm doing is I am, making a wash like this, allowing it to completely dry. And generally I feel like if I'm really impatient, I just do it at night. It just takes like 5 minutes, and then when I wake up in the morning it's just all completely dry, and that way I'm not like fighting the urge to use my heating tool. Not that there's anything wrong with the heating tool, and I do use it on occasion. So now what I would do is I would just go in here and I'm using my rollerball pen, but you can use anything. I've used a pencil, I've used just anything I have on hand really, and I just go in and I just do a whole bunch of writing. I'm not going to do it now for the video because it's going to take me like a while. So I just just say you want to do your morning pages, for instance, or you want to journal about something or whatever it is, just spill it all out on the page, and it's going to get covered up, and it's going to nobody's going to be able to read it. So because what I do after I write it is I go in and I do another wash, and I do this like a few times, and that really builds up the layers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue building up my face, and what I want to do is just add some of my collage here. Now, what I found when painting a face is that a trick that I kind of use is if you're uncertain about where to put your lighter values and your darker values, just take your finger and run it over your actual face, and wherever your finger comes out into the space forward, like whatever protrudes from your face, that's where all the lighter values go. So it would be, say, the bridge of your nose, it would be your brow bone, it would be like right under your chin, there's like a dip, and then there's a protrusion, and then that part would be light, and the dips would be your darker values. So say where your eye socket, your eye, that area, like this area right over here, like where your eye is like really set into your skull, that's all going to be dark. And then you can use whatever color you want, just as long as the value is correct. And I've seen some really amazing portraits, and one that comes to mind, an artist right away, is Van Gogh. Like he used like really delicious colors for his portraits. It wasn't well received at the time, but this was the late 1800s, so they thought he was crazy for doing it. But you can use like greens, you can use any color really, you guys experiment. Now for this particular 100-day project, I'm trying not to use too many colors. Maybe I will for the later ones, but for the initial portraits, I just want to kind of play around with my values, and I want to strengthen that. So I'm just gonna like build up. So see, like right over here, this part would be lighter. So I'm gonna put my collage, my dictionary pages, like you can actually take your finger and like run it under like where your cheekbone is, and this part is going to protrude, so it's going to be a lighter value. And it doesn't matter what skin color you are painting. You could be painting a really dark colored skin tone, or you could be painting a really light colored skin tone. It doesn't matter. Those values are going to remain you're not going to use the same colors, but it's still going to be like a lighter value than the rest of the face, the parts that come out. And actually, even in a really dark skin tone, you're gonna still have really light values depending on the lighting. And in a really light colored skin tone, you're still gonna have dark skin tones depending on the lighting again. So, you know, now obviously I'm not doing a realistic portrait, so I'm not worried about like the lighting and the way the lighting is hitting and all this other stuff. So that takes like some of the pressure off, honestly. So I'm just building up my face here. And do you see now, like, I think I mentioned this in one of my, like, I think it was a video before this. So when you're adding your collage, it's not only that you're building layers, but you're also just building the values. And I'm using the blue that I initially laid, my ink. I'm using that for my dark tones. So that helps considerably, honestly. And I think I'm gonna put another piece over here because like all of this, like the forehead part, it's gonna protrude. And then the part that like where your hairline and all of that, like, cause the face, if you really look at it, it's not flat. I mean, when you're painting it, it's flat, but the whole purpose is to try to model it so that you can give it some semblance of three-dimensionality. And so the parts that are gonna recede, so look at it as a balloon. And the parts that are gonna recede, that's gonna be, and actually, you know, that's a really good exercise if you are painting faces. And I think I took a class a long time ago where we actually did that. I can't remember. But if you take a balloon and you draw facial features with a marker, just a very rudimentary kind of eyes, nose, whatever, it's still going to give you an idea of the parts of the face, not the facial features. Because obviously on a balloon, you can't draw the eye that's going into the eye socket. But just for the face, the shape of the head, it is going to kind of give you a clue about the parts that are going to come forward and the parts that are going to recede. So like I said, I'm just going to repeat that. It's not going to help you with your facial features, the balloon exercise, but for the head itself, it's a great exercise for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue layering some of the tea bags. You guys, I'm totally obsessed with the tea bags. Like, I'm seriously having to drink more tea, which not that I mind, by the way, but I'm seriously having to drink more tea just to get my tea bags because I need them, honestly, for my portraits. I know. It's kind of, I just haven't found anything to replicate the beauty of it. I love the fact that it's sheer. I love the fact that it's like you can see what's underneath it. I love the color of it. I just love everything about it. I love the earthiness of it. Like, it's just so humble and I just love it. I don't know. I mean, if I could find something that would replicate it, that would be great. But so far, I'm just loving my tea bags. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I am going to add a little bit of reds, but I don't want it to be overpowering at all. I want it to kind of like, I want it to be neutralized. So like I mentioned this before too, when you're setting the parameters, if you are gonna be doing the 100-day project, not that this video is only for people doing the 100-day project, by the way, but if you are going to be doing the 100-day project, you would set the parameters of what you want to explore. Anyways, that's the way I understand it. And one of the things for me was that I wanted to just be more neutral. Like, even though I really have an urge to kind of be heavy-handed with my colors. I just want to explore like things being neutral. So, and even this red, which I'm trying to neutralize, is a bit too red for this particular exercise I'm doing with my 100-day project. So I'm gonna tone it down. But you know, skin has all different colors. It's got reds and oranges and greens and peaches, and if you're a woman and you use makeup, then you know like there's undertones, and it's just like a very like it's a complex thing. But you know, I learned this a long time ago, and I figured out that yes, it holds true, that you know, it doesn't matter what color you use as long as your values are correct. So if you understand your value, like the values you're using, the lightness and the darkness of a thing. Oh, and I have this like value scale, which is only like, I want to say it's under $3 at Dick Blick. It comes in so handy, and I use it a lot for my values, to figure out my values. So I'm just building up my face here. And once you get your values right, you can go in later and, you know, kind of like add some colors. So right now I'm just trying to get my values right. I'm just trying to build up my face. So do you see how the blues really help with the shadows? And I'm really loving this like kind of splash that happened with the ink when I first like just laid it down on the page. And I've got some red on my brush here, so I am just gonna kind of like, well, it kind of turned pink because I added my cashew. And I'm just building up my face, you guys. I'm not doing anything like, I'm not like worried about like the facial features right now. I'm just trying to build up my values on my face. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of the writing, and I don't like, what I might do is I might just write on this side and not write on this side. Like there's no rhyme or reason. I just, you know, I'm just kind of like, so I can write whatever I want. So I can write poetry, grocery lists, morning pages, whatever, really, you guys, whatever, affirmations. I mean, you can go to town. And then what I would do is I would go in and I would do another wash. So I'm going to do that right now. And actually, I'm going to kind of load, I have some of that red on there. So I'm just going to kind of smush it on here and see how that kind of like just smushes it. And then I just allow it to completely dry. And and then I can go back in and write more on it, but it really builds up the background in a way that is interesting but not overpowering. And plus, you know, whatever you write, nobody's going to be able to figure it out because, you know, there's going to be so much like distortion on it, like with the layers, and you're writing on top of writing. So yeah, so I'm going to bring this up closer, you guys, and try not to like tilt it because I don't want the paint to run over. But as you can see, like I'm not even concerned about painting facial features or anything like that. I'm just, you know, I'm just building up the tonal values, and I'm building up the structure of the face. So as you can see, this looks like a face, you know, yeah, sure, she doesn't have any facial features, but I'm just building up all the values here. And you guys, this might seem like a bit of a tedious process because I am working in shorter amounts of time because I want everything to dry naturally. And what I find when I am doing this is I will like do this and I'll kind of do it like around a household task. So let me explain. So just say I have to clean the kitchen or bake or whatever it is. So what I'll do is I'll spend like 20 minutes and I'll do something, and then I will go and do my household task, and then I come back and then I work for another 20 minutes and then I go back, and it just works really well, honestly. And that way I'm not impatient waiting for it to dry. So that's the thing about building layers like this is, you know, because I'm not using my heating tool, I just kind of like tailor it around a household task, and it works really well for me. I also do this when I'm building up the layers of my children's cardboard books, so I don't get impatient because I can only work on one spread at a time. So what I'll do is I'll work on 3 or 4 children's cardboard books, and that way I can open them up and then work on like, you know, this spread and then go do something, come back, and then so that works well for me. Anyways, you guys, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And oh, I just want to mention this, like, see the way the tea bag just kind of scrunched up over there on her hair? I just love that. I just love that. And when it completely dries, it's going to like be hardened, and it's going to create such luscious, wonderful textures. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.